There's been much debate this past year about freedom of speech and social media.
We should err on the side of greater expression.
They are literally spreading lies, misinformation, propaganda.
Companies that engage in censoring or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield.
The dilemma: should social media companies censor speech that they deem to be hateful or violent or false? Or should they keep it up in the spirit of freedom of speech? And what happens when the speaker is an elected official?
I believe that we have two responsibilities: to remove content when it can cause real danger as effectively as we can, and to fight to uphold as wide of a definition of freedom of expression as possible.
Of course, the First Amendment doesn't legally apply to Facebook or to Twitter or to Instagram or YouTube. It was written solely to stop the government, not private companies, from censoring speech. The debate has intensified due to one particular post from President Donald Trump: when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Twitter placed a warning label on the tweet saying it glorified violence. Facebook did nothing.
You could say that you're all for free speech, but you also need to protect society, especially when you're in the position Facebook is in.
Mark Zuckerberg would say that he is standing for a democratic principle, which is freedom of expression. And he says that, a private company like his, who is he, a billionaire, to be able to, in some way restrict the speech of the President of the United States. Do you buy that argument?
I do not. I think that argument is entirely in Mark Zuckerberg's profit interest. I think what we're seeing is Mark Zuckerberg is saying, I don't want to rile up the president. I don't want to invite regulatory action. I don't want to tick off the president's following, which also uses Facebook, and I don't want to alienate them from my own platform because that will detract from my own revenue and engagement on my own platform.
But those who argue Facebook should operate in the spirit of free speech say it's a slippery slope to remove or even to fact-check political speech.
Where would you draw a line if you were Facebook when it comes to a Trump post?
So I think that Facebook cordons off a couple of very narrow areas which are wise to shut down. And that is things like misleading speech about elections themselves. If Trump posted, hey everyone, go vote on election day on this date, and it was the wrong date, I think that's reasonable to take down because it is timely and also obviously misleading. For things like hate speech, I think that people should know if the president is using hate speech.
You don't think that Facebook should be fact-checking political ads?
I don't trust Facebook to do a good job fact-checking political ads. A lot of political claims are tricky, are difficult to fact-check. A lot of them are true but misleading. These are the kind of categories that the American people needs to hear a full debate about, not Mark Zuckerberg's idea of what the debate should be about.
But in fact, much of the philosophical debate about freedom of speech and social media has been just that, philosophical. In practice, Facebook has taken down political posts. It took down an ad run by the Trump campaign, Twitter has labeled the president's tweets, and all the major platforms have rules restricting posts containing nudity.
Facebook's been taking this kind of stuff down that entire time, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. Why is that happening? Okay? And you hear conservative bias, but it's actually not conservative bias. They've been taking down that same type of hate speech since 2008, 2009, and there's just more of that type of hate speech. The speech of Trump and his party has come to the rules. It is not that they have all of a sudden changed the rules to be biased against conservatives.
I think people who genuinely believe that, private companies should not in any way interfere with anything a politician is saying, no matter how objectionable it might be. Do you think that there is an argument there? That
is a valid argument. That yes, if you're Mark Zuckerberg, it makes sense to say that, look, if I start moderating content, I'm going to invite a discussion over the regulatory terms that be over my company, over content moderation. And to that, I would say, well, let's welcome that because I think it's the time is right to have an open discussion about what's right in this society and what's wrong, especially when we have such a dirty and noisy media environment thanks to Facebook.
In a blog post, Facebook said the responsibility to fact-check political ads shouldn't be left to private companies, writing, "The sooner Facebook and other companies are subject to democratically accountable rules on this, the better." But in the meantime, ahead of the 2020 election, Facebook announced it is allowing users to opt out of political ads. For some critics, though, the question remains, is it enough?